Hi, everybody. I'm Heather, your CRMA instructor, and this class here is just going to be recorded since not everybody can make it this morning. That's okay. So you should have already received an email with a course workbook, which includes some worksheets that we use throughout the course. The first page is we'll actually go over it together here. So the workbook is on my website. So you're going to get a password to this website page. So the first page of the workbook is this skills checklist. This is from the state of Maine. This whole course is actually approved by the state of Maine. And so this is the checklist that we're going to use throughout the course to check off your skills along the way as you learn them and as you demonstrate them during the MedPass demonstration. So just keep these pages with you all the time so that you can refer to them, and it will help reinforce your learning as we move along through the different concepts to understand. This is the front page of the skills checklist and the back page of the skills checklist. Hang on, I think this is actually Cheryl calling to join us. Hi, Cheryl. Oh, wonderful. Okay. Perfect. I'll see you in a minute. Nope. Nope. You can just listen. See you in a minute. Yeah.
Join now.
So we have a couple people joining in here now. Hi,
Okay.
we have Cheryl.
Hi.
We're getting off to a bumpy start. I'm just getting the hang of all this technical.
Me too. I am so not with it. But I'm here.
Unable to hear you, Cheryl.
Okay.
Can only hear myself. Let's see. We have a
you
couple
can't
other
hear
people joining in. Let's see here.
me. Okay.
Mike. That's Cheryl.
That's me, yes.
So we have Cheryl, and look like Amanda was trying to join. So if you are not able to join in this first time, then just try it again. Try the link again. Oh, here comes Blaine.
Oh,
So we
somebody.
have Blaine joining us now. Welcome, Blaine. I've muted everyone, so I can't hear any of you, but you can hear me, hopefully. Can you hear me, Cheryl?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yes, thank you. Raise your hand. I'm just getting the hang of doing all this online. So let's see. So we have Cheryl, Blaine, and then it looked like Susan was joining us, but I don't see Susan. Oh, hang on here. Let's see. Mike, Blaine, Susan.
Oh, the volume controls on this.
Okay, I think Susan and Amanda are here.
I did already. Thank you. Thanks.
All right. So we're gonna get started. Again, remember, I can't hear you. I'm afraid if I manage too many buttons at once, I'm gonna hang up. I'm gonna make this thing hang up. But all the information is on the website, and I'm always making little updates to it. So trust me, it'll be there. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of jump back to the presenting page. So let's see. So this is let me go back. I hope I don't hang up on everybody. All right. So this is, I'm just taking you a tour of my website. Just like there's short staffing everywhere, there's short staffing everywhere, including the bowels of the World Wide Web. So I've actually been having to learn how to fix my own website, build templates to install, to override corrupted files and widgets. I'm really pretty proud of myself, actually. And so this is my baby here. Only one page of my baby. This page actually has a password to it. And I'll just tell you the password. It's Work Smart. WORKSMART. Work Smart. All lowercase. Work Smart. That's the password to get into this page.
Okay.
All right. So I'm just going to take you on a tour of the page. So just to be clear, this is a CRMA 40-hour course, Certified Residential Medication Aid course. This allows you to administer medications in a assisted living setting.
Quick question on the password.
Even after this course is over with, you're going to spend about 35 to 40 hours of basically study and review time in this course. But even after this course even after we're completed this, I'm still available to you. You still have access to the website. And I'm still available for if you have questions about things, anything that we covered in class. You can always text me, email me, or call me if you have questions along the way, especially because just the way things are, you know, anyone working in healthcare needs to be able to work more and more independently. So in addition to teaching you this role, I'm also trying to teach you, you know, what if you owned the place? What if you were the administrator? What would you need to know and how would things need to be done, basically? And I also want to teach you how to lead your team, even on your first day on the job as a CRMA. I want you to be thinking like a leader. Okay. So this video here, you can just hit play. It's actually probably a better video than what this will be. This is just an introduction, covers the introduction to the course. And you already received an email attachment yesterday, basically covering the same thing. But we'll just walk through it. Here's a CRMA workbook I created. You should be able to download and print this. You need to print these forms. If you live in somehow remotely and somehow you have no access to a printer, don't go through this course without being able to print these off. If you have no access to a printer, you know, I can mail these to you, but you need these. So this first one comes right out of the Maine state curriculum. Again, this whole course is approved and based from the Maine state CRMA curriculum. This skills checklist is the tasks that you need to be able to understand and complete. Some of them are not actually demonstrated in class. We don't actually demonstrate rectal suppository insertion in class. We talk about that. But other things, certainly the documentation piece, knowing the 8 rights. This is a huge thing. Just right now, you've got to start remembering
what I need here or no
that we have.
Okay, good. Okay.
It's just pieces of information that we ensure that we understand and know with every single med that you give. I'll just run through real quick. The right resident, right medication, right dose, right route, right time,
in the mail.
Right reason should be in here actually. Then we keep in mind the right to know. So the client has the right to know, the right to refuse meds. Okay. And then we're completing all the right documentation. I'm going to show you how to do all this. Let's see. So once we get through the course, we demonstrate and understand all these steps and do a medication administration demonstration called MedPass demonstration. We'll both sign and date these. Keep your files on hand for 3 years. Okay, this final sheet is a discussion sheet. It clarifies anything that wasn't actually done in class but is discussed. This next section here is a summary. It is just a summary. This is not like official in any way. This is just like a snippet of some information from what's called Chapter 113, Regulations Governing the Licensing and Functioning of Assisted Living Housing Programs. This is specifically Level 4. It's a huge document. However, it is the driver for the workplace of how this job is done. And so I just fished out some of the sections. Section 5, resident rights. Section 7, medications and treatments. Section 11, administrative and resident records. And then a little piece on 12, standards of care. So I just summarized this because I want you to become very familiar with this document, because this is what tells your workplace how to do these tasks that you're going to learn in this class. This piece of paper, this document here, is just kind of also a summary of some medication classification terms and definitions. This is just a brief list of drugs, classification of drugs, and drugs are frequently classified by their action or use. So in this class, just kind of focus more on the terms that are in bold. Those you'll see in this class. Again, just a summary. Keep this paper with you all the time through the class. Every time you're looking over information, doing the practice quizzes, just to help reinforce these terms and concepts. All right, this one is a body systems study guide. This one sheet is like a nutshell of Unit 3, body systems. Just a brief overview of the different body systems, their function, some diseases or conditions that occur in these systems, and then some med classifications, examples. I'll tell you right now, the cardiovascular system and the respiratory system are the primary focus on quizzes and final exam. These medications for heart and lungs are pretty common. So heart meds, where you would need to be checking the pulse and blood pressure before you give that med. And then respiratory meds like for asthma or shortness of breath. So there's a lot of, especially right here. So under condition, right here, respiratory and cardiovascular, it's going to be a lot of questions on the quiz and final exam focused around conditions of these two systems. I also have included some really, really great videos on these different systems. So I would encourage you to pull up my website page, and maybe when you're driving to work, you can just listen. That might help too. And what else do we have? Oh, some study sheets that I created. The study sheet, see how they have a number 1, a number 2, and a number 3. These are study sheets that I created to help you just tie all this information together. A lot of little information written here, so print this off and read it. It's going to help you a lot. Okay. Let's see, now I gotta get back. So I'm trying not to hang up on this call. So I'll hit just the back button. Okay. So that was the workbook. You're gonna keep that with you throughout the course. Again, this little video is one I did last time. It's gonna be a lot better than this video. You can just watch or listen to the introduction. This is me. I'm your instructor. I am a registered nurse. I graduated from USM. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in nursing. I also have a master's degree in business management. I am always trying to pull in the business side of things. Everything I do all the time is with a business focus, makes things much more efficient, profitable, organized, and it allows me to share good things with more people. I'm also a creative writer, textile artist. Means it's just a fancy name for seamstress. If it's fabric, I can make it. I love to share my education on natural health. I've done a tremendous amount of research in natural health, And we'll be sharing some of those things along the way. Thought leader. So that's a big thing nowadays. I really want to lead people to better health, better lives, more prosperity and happiness. If I could write one prescription for the world, in the med world, one prescription would be gratitude. We need to be thankful and grateful for everything. All right, so this is me. And then this is my daughter, Olivia. She is a graphic designer and she's really funny. She has like a dry sense of humor. She's usually pretty quiet. So she says, Mom has little sense of style, so I make everything look good. If it doesn't look good, it's because she hasn't had a chance to make up a graphic for it. She has a beautiful little baby girl that takes up most of her time. So she'll help when she can. All right, so let's do a warm up by learning how medications are produced in the factory. So in past classes, I've just left it up to the students to watch this video because I think it helps give you some resonance and connection with these medications. I feel like these medications are just, you know, given to people and we don't really think much about it other than, you know, shoving a med down someone's throat. You know, how often do we really think of where do these meds come from? How are they made? What are the ingredients in these meds? What ingredients, what is it that, you know, helps lower someone's blood pressure? What is it in the ingredient that helps relieve someone's shortness of breath? I can't really answer that, but I hope that this video will just give you a little more insight and make you feel more connected with these medications that you're giving your residents so that you will feel more comfortable and familiar with observing the effects of the medication. So it doesn't do any good to just give people pills if we don't observe, document, and report what we see and observe of the effects of the medications. And as I said, in the past, I've let this video just leave it up to the student to watch, but I think they don't really watch it, and it's so valuable. So here we go. We're going to watch it now. AstraZeneca is one of the world's largest pharmaceutical companies in the world. And we don't have any volume. Hang on.
We produce medicines that are life-changing for millions of people across the globe. This is AstraZeneca. Welcome.
Wow.
To produce medicines, you need a lot of materials. Every day, these are brought here by different suppliers. Most of it arrives on trucks. But we also have substances and gases that are brought here in large tank vehicles. Being one of the world's largest producers and suppliers of pharmaceuticals comes with responsibility. The production, distribution, storage, and use of incoming materials have to be managed with the greatest care. We follow strict regulations with very high demands on safety, hygiene, and quality. It is important for us to work as environmentally friendly as possible, which is why, for example, we have our own highly advanced water treatment plant here in Södertälje. There are a number of hygiene zones within production which need to be respected by everyone in order to ensure the highest quality in everything we produce. As a visitor, you must always wear specific protective clothing for the various hygiene zones. To enter further into production, you need to wear a higher category of protective clothing. There are also sterile zones, and to work there, you must have special training and equipment. The clothing resembles spacesuits. Now, let me take you on a short guided tour of our production to show you what we do and how we do it. As you can see, it's spacious here, so if you want to move quickly, a scooter comes handy. This is a high-tech environment, but of course, it didn't always look like this. Astra was founded in 1913 in Södertälje, south of Stockholm. To begin with, there were only 10 employees, but the company grew rapidly. The first real success came with the local anesthetic Xylocaine in 1948. Losec, the medicine against gastric ulcers, was launched in 1988 and was for several years the most sold pharmaceutical in the world. In 1999, Swedish Astra merged with British Seneca. Let's begin at the beginning, that is, with the production of the active substance or the part of the medicine that helps the patients. It's called the API, the active pharmaceutical ingredient. When you manufacture APIs, it's all about starting chemical reactions. Simply put, you pour solvents and chemicals into a large container, the reactor. You mix them and heat them so that they start reacting with each other. When the reaction has finished, you boil off the solvents you no longer require. Cool the remains to form a crystallized sediment called a slurry. The slurry is filtered to get rid of more liquid, forming a crumbly dough. The dough is finally dried into a powder. The powder is then sent on to the next step of the production process called formulation or preparation. In the formulation process, the API powder is
thank you so much. You're awesome, Mike.
binding agents and pharmaceutical excipients in a large mixing machine. The moist powder mix is then dried in a fluid bed dryer until it forms tiny dry grains, a few millimeters in diameter only. This can take anything from 3 to 6 hours. When the drying process is complete, more pharmaceutical excipients are added before the grains are brought to the tablet compression machine for shaping into pills. Last but not least, the tablets are coated to disguise flavors that make them cosmetically pleasing as well as easier for the patient to swallow. Every step throughout the entire supply chain is documented and controlled sampling is carried out on all materials. Tablets are weighed, measured and checked regarding, for instance, color, shape and dissolving qualities. Quality organizations not only work with control, they also ensure that high quality is built into the manufacturing processes right from the start. When the tablets are ready, it's time for packing. The packing process is highly automated. We pack approximately 10 billion tablets and capsules every year. That means 19,000 capsules a minute, 24/7, 365 days a year. All in all, we produce around 30 different pharmaceuticals for export to around 100 countries around the world. In addition to tablets, we also produce solutions, sprays and freeze-dried products, as well as inhalation products. Sweden Operations Distribution Center is an amazing place. There are 450 meters of conveyor belts connecting the influx and outflow of pallets to high bay cranes, packing stations and driverless trucks, so-called HEVs. The finished products are transported to our spacious storage, the high bay. Here the medicine waits to be shipped to markets and patients all over the world. We try to choose as environmentally friendly ways of distribution as possible. For example, we work to change to sea transportation more often instead of air freight. Despite us being a high-tech industry, nothing would be possible without our highly dedicated workforce. We strive to always be a great place to work with clear values and goals for everything we do. Manufacturing unit here in Södertälje is also the launch site of new drugs in the form of It also hosts a center of excellence for inhalation products. Being a launch site means that we are somewhat of a flagship. 98% of what we produce here in Södertälje is for export, which makes AstraZeneca one of the largest exporting companies in Sweden. 4 out of AstraZeneca's top 10 products are manufactured here. We have more than 3,000 employees, and around 50% of our line managers are women. Approximately a fourth of us have a foreign background. This makes up for a great mix of competences. Since 2003, we work with continuous improvements using the Japanese lean philosophy, something we have been recognized for. Lean is one of the main reasons for our increase in productivity and our competitive edge globally. Lean simply means every employee has two tasks. The first is to manufacture pharmaceuticals. And the other is to always strive to do this in an even better and smarter way. Lean is our way of ensuring we always remain at the forefront to deliver life-changing medicines to patients all over the world. Thank you for visiting. Please come back or visit us at AstraZeneca.com.
So I hope you enjoyed that video. I love that video. I never get tired of it. Oh, we have some new joining people. Thank you, Brienne. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, sorry, it's taken a while to get in for some reason.
So it's probably my fault. So I'm just very rickety here at learning how to host an online meeting. So this actually, what I'm covering has already been, I've done the same thing, and there's a video at the top of my training page, which is the same exact thing.
Okay.
And so so what I'm doing is taking you on a tour of my training page, and then I'll just email you a link to it. You'll have access to it anytime. The courses actually are already recorded on the website. I'm just this is kind of a practice for me to do like a live type of meeting.
Right.
So I appreciate your patience. As I said earlier, just like there's short staffing everywhere, there's short staffing everywhere, including the bowels of the World Wide Web. So I've actually had to figure out some workarounds to fix my website, to build some templates, to override corrupted files and widgets. So I'm I'm just moving forward one way or another. So, but you will never be lost without any information, because it's all on the website. All right, so let's get back. And I'm sorry if I'm trying. The reason why it's a little bumpy too is so that I don't accidentally hang up this meeting. So we'll keep going forward here. Let's see, and make sure everyone there's nobody else that wants to try to get in. Okay. So back to the website page. So I'll just back up a little bit. So this is the training page, professionalhealthcaretraining.com/template. The password to get into this is WorkSmart, WORKSMART.
Lowercase.
That's right. Thank you, Cheryl.
Yeah.
Good.
I just wrote everything down as you were talking.
Perfect. I love it. So, so this video here is exactly what we're covering. I did it last week. It's the same thing. So you won't have missed a thing. This course workbook here is a download. So you click on it and you download the pages. And I'll just give you a little quick tour. Just whip right through it because we've already been over it. So first thing, you're going to print this off. Okay. This is the main state skills checklist. It covers all the tasks that we need to be able to perform or understand or demonstrate or discuss in order to complete this course. This sheet here is like a place to discuss anything that was discussed rather than demonstrated. This here this is in your workbook. This is a summary of Chapter 113, Rules and Regulations for Assisted Living. It summarizes, it's just a summary, sections 5, 7, 11, and 12. I made this summary just to get you very comfortable and familiar with accessing this information. Links to this is on the website. This is the driver of how we do these tasks in the facility. So this chapter 113 is geared towards the workplace, whereas the curriculum, the main state curriculum, is geared toward the employee. This list here is just a brief summary of medication classification terms. So drugs are frequently classified by their action or use. And then those fall into these classifications here. The ones in bold are the ones that are more focused on this class. So I try to present everything as clear, believe it or not, as clear and streamlined and straightforward as I can. I've basically repackaged the main state curriculum into this training website and this workbook. This study guide right here is basically a nutshell of the body systems section, unit 3 from the main state curriculum. The focus in this course is cardiovascular system and respiratory system. There's actually, if you look over here in conditions, this is like, there's a lot of questions in the unit quiz and final exam around conditions of the cardiovascular system and the respiratory system. In this course, we also cover vital signs, and vital signs, part of the vital signs, blood pressure, pulse, respirations, those are also vital signs. So these are important. Okay, and then these 3 sheets, notice how it says 1, 2, 3. I created these study practice sheets, and it walks you through how to read a medication order written by a licensed prescriber, how to then use the MAR, medication administration record, to document every time we give a medication. On the front page is the routine documentation, routine meds that are given, and then including PRNs, as needed meds. We'll talk about that. And then the back page of the MAR is the exception. So this is expected information on the front page of the MAR. Exception medication is documented on the back page of the MAR. Anytime a routine med is not given for any reason, and then every time a PRN as needed med is given. And I give you examples here. So that is the workbook. Make sure you print that off first thing and keep it with you all the time throughout the course for reference. This is me. This is my daughter. She does graphic design for me. This is the video that we just watched. Now we're going to jump into Unit 1. So here's another video already pre-recorded that covers Unit 1. So this course is approved by the state of Maine. This course is all based on the curriculum that's written by the state of Maine. It was written back in 2008, so some of the information is a little outdated. So this course here, I just basically repackaged this curriculum. So you need to take, I don't know how long, 2-3 hours probably to review just this. Here is the link. There's a link to it right here. So you're just going to click on this, and you're going to, it's a huge PDF. There's a Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3. And well, introduction. Don't forget about the introduction. There's actually a fair amount of information in the introduction. And the way that the main state curriculum is set up is Unit 1 is roles and rules. Unit 2, pharmacology administration. Unit 3, body systems. There's another huge document that we need to focus on, and it's also, both of these are from the Department of Health and Human Services. So this curriculum is focused on the employee, you, the CRMA. This rules and regulations is focused on the workplace. So the curriculum is like what to do, the tasks of what to do, and then the chapter 113 is how to do it in the workplace. This course focuses in on level 4. So I don't know if you're young people, you may not be familiar with Roman numerals, but it's organized in Roman numerals. So this is level 1, 2, 3, and 4. So down here, number 4, that when you go on to this website, you're going to click on level 4 down here. And it's a huge, multiple page document all about rules and regulations in the facility. In your workbook, I gave you a summary of it. I encourage you to actually load both of these huge PDF documents onto your laptop, like at work, so that not only you can access it easily, but encourage your coworkers to access it easily. You should be able to just jump right on and fish out the information that you need. You know, what happens if a resident leaves the facility, you know, for a couple of days? How do we package up medications if they need to take their meds with them? It will tell you over here in chapter 113. All right, so both of these from the DHHS. This is the drivers of everything that we do. Okay, here is the CRMA role, job description. So I fished this right verbatim out of the curriculum, focused on the employee. CRMAs utilize safe and acceptable procedures in the administration of medications and treatments as assigned directly or indirectly by the administrator and in accordance with the Chapter 113 rules and regulations. CRMAs are accountable for performing these functions in accordance with acceptable standards. Well, what does that mean? Well, that's what this course is about. It's going to explain all that to you. So there's some things that you can and cannot do. So some tasks that you can and cannot do. What you can do is you can follow those written prescriber orders. The prescriber orders written by a legal licensed prescriber. It's handwritten or electronic printout from a fax or printout. So you can take a written order. And we also use the word prescriber interchangeably for a doctor, physician, PCP, specialist, but really it all comes down to the licensed person who is licensed to actually write legal orders. The medication order is just like any other document. It basically describes the who, what, where, when, how, why, how, and it has to be signed and dated. Doctor can write 100 orders, but if they forget to sign it or forget to date it, it's not legal, just like any other document. All right, so you can follow medication orders. You can transcribe the order. So you take the order and then you copy over those medication orders onto the MAR, Medication Administration Record. That was page 2. You can also administer non-injectable medications, oral, sublingual, inhalers, topical creams like on your skin, eye, ears, nose drops, vaginal and rectal creams or suppositories. You can observe, document, and report the client's observed or verbally stated response or effects to medications. You can request medication refills from the prescriber if you see that your med stock is going to run out or has run out. You want to catch it before it runs out. You can also ask the pharmacy for refills if there is an order in place for it. You can receive deliveries from the pharmacy and you can count medications. Always practice quality assurance, always practice good infection control, and you can check vital signs. Some things that you cannot do. So you cannot deviate from the order in any way, which means those 8 rights that we talked about, you'll always, every med that you give, you always keep in mind the right resident, given the right medication, in the right dose, by the right route, like how it enters the body, at the right time for the right reason. And then we always keep in mind the resident has the right to refuse the med. They don't have to take the med. They can refuse. They also have the right to know what the medication is that you are giving them. And you also have a responsibility to know what you are giving. And then we also keep in mind that we complete all of the right documentation, especially in reporting and using that documentation to report incidents or effects of meds to supervisors, workers, or the prescriber. You cannot take verbal orders over the phone, only written orders. So written by hand from the doctor's office, like a copy or something that came off the fax, but you can't take a verbal order over the phone. So if you happen to be the one answering the phone and the doctor calls and says, I want to add this med, can you give it? No, you can't. Say, sorry, I need it in writing, just fax it over, please. You cannot relabel medication. So if the sticker label comes off You can't just fix it, tape it back on, you know, fill in with a pen. It has to get relabeled from the pharmacy. You cannot treat deep wounds. So anything, if you're, you know, someone gets a cut or a wound, if it requires something beyond a minor first aid kit, that's beyond your range of tasks. They need to be treated by a nurse or sent out. All right, so then let's talk about the scope of practice in the healthcare industry. You'll see this term scope of practice in the curriculum. To clarify this common term, we want to replace the word with scope with the word range, and then replace that term practice with the word tasks. So now you have range of tasks. So it seems like scope of practice is a little vague, but range of tasks of what you can do hopefully is a little more clear.
Heather?
Yes.
Susan Rayshard's still trying to get on. Is it possible to let her in?
Yeah, let's see. Hopefully I won't hang up on everybody in the process. Let's see. Here we go. Susan. You're able to join us now, Susan.
I'm going to send her a message. Is she?
So.
Oh, there she is. All right.
Welcome,
She's
Susan.
just on mute, but I see her.
Can you hear us, Susan? Wave if you can hear, because I have everyone muted, Susan. How about that? Susan, can you hear me? I don't know. Susan, can you hear me talking? I'm not sure if she can. Okay. Hopefully she can. All right. Regulations. So we talked about the DHS Chapter 113, Level 4, focused on the workplace. So I'm going to zoom back up to that. That's here. This is what it looks like when you go to the website link. And you want to go down to Level 4. That's going to be what you're focused on the workplace, how you do these tasks. So again, the curriculum is what you do for tasks, and then the Chapter 113 is how you do those tasks in the workplace. So how these two things fit together. They just fit together all the time, what you do and how you do it. All right, then there's resources for answers and information for the CRMA. That comes from two sources. People resources like the pharmacist that fills the medication prescription. So they package and dispense the medications that are ordered by the licensed prescriber. So those are two people that can help you. Your supervisor is someone that can help you with information. If you have an emergency, 911 are people that can help you. Poison control is another one that can help you. So in the case of emergencies, and if you needed to call 911 or poison control, you would do so if your client or resident or coworker was unresponsive, short of breath, uncontrolled seizure, or excessive bleeding or injury. That would be 911 people that could help you. Poison control, phone number right here. When you call these places, they're going to ask you these questions. What medication did they take? What was the dose? What time did they take it? What's their response? You should always know this information with every single med that you give. So every time you hand a resident a medication, you should know exactly what you're giving, why you're giving it, what the expected outcome should be or the effects from the medication, and be able to know these things so that if there was a sudden emergency, they were having some sort of sudden allergic reaction, you would be able to pick up the phone, call 911, be under control, know exactly what to say so that you can help get care, the proper care. So people, again, emergency people. Then there's the prescriber, the person or the physician, doctor, provider who wrote the order for the medications. The role of the prescriber is to give the order to the pharmacist to package and dispense the medication. So the pharmacist has the same exact order that you have. So the order that you use to follow to give the medications, the pharmacist has that same order in order to package and dispense those medications. The prescriber also, same order that given to you as to give to the pharmacy, or if you happen to have a nurse consultant in your facility. The prescriber determines the diagnosis and the reason for each medication that they order, and it's actually their responsibility to explain this to your resident or their family member or guardian. Prescriber also explains the diagnosis and reason for the meds that they order. Then there's the pharmacist, the licensed person who packages and dispenses medications. Pharmacist is great because if you call them during business hours, you can usually get your answer within just a few minutes, because usually somebody will pick up the phone right away and answer your questions. If you had to call the prescriber for questions, it might take a little while, sometimes, to get a response back. Sometimes you have to leave a message and wait for a call back. But if you are planning ahead and keeping yourself organized and know what questions that you need to ask or what questions need to be answered, if you can do it during business hours, a pharmacist is going to give you usually the fastest response. So pharmacist answers questions. They package and dispense the meds. They label and relabel medications, especially if one of your labels peels off or gets ripped or somehow you can't read it clearly. They may possibly prepare medications if your resident's going for a leave of absence. They can check for potential allergies, interactions, or contraindications. They also take they can take a verbal order from a physician. So an RN can take a verbal order over the phone. So can a pharmacist. Pharmacist also advises on storage, disposal, and drug expirations. And they can also advise on special instructions, take with food, or if your resident has a hard time swallowing and they have some big horse pill size pill, you can call the pharmacist and ask them if it can be crushed and then mixed with applesauce. So you could find out first if it even can be crushed, and then you can call the prescriber and say, can I have an order to crush this med? The client has a hard time swallowing it. Your supervisor or program manager can answer questions about the program or the facility itself, handle problems and decision-making, problem-solving within the facility. They receive incident reports and med error forms, handle staffing, staffing schedules. They can help coordinate access to outside services like dentists or doctor's appointments, and arrange for transportation. Help with skills teaching, problem solving, and offer general support to staff and clients. So your supervisor is like your direct supervisor, but they may not necessarily know specifics about the medications that you're giving. The pharmacist is going to know specifics of the medication you're giving. And so will the prescriber. It's just the pharmacist usually gives your quickest answer if it's during the day, during business hours. All right. Some facilities, few of them nowadays, have a nurse consultant, but they serve as an on-call medical expert, advising about medications when necessary, answering questions, helping with decision-making, and completing medication administration records called MARs. They can help prepare those MARs and help print them out for the next month, because on paper MAR, those are really nice calendars. Some facilities have the MAR on the computer, and others are on paper. So in this class, we use it on paper. Some people that work with a electronic MAR have a hard time using the paper, but you need to be able to use the paper. It's the same information. And if your computer system crashes at work, you need to be able to switch over to Papermar to do your documentation. Then there's also the experienced coworkers that can offer insight to unusual client behavior. Maybe they're familiar with their routines and preferences and can help troubleshoot routines and things in your client taking meds. Some resident, or I say client, sometimes I say client, sometimes a resident. It just depends where you work as to what the name of them are. So in Susan and Brienne's facility, they're called housemates because it has a nautical theme there, which is kind of fun. Coworkers also can help you with providing some information surrounding incidents in order to fill out an incident report. So you can say what time, you could ask them like what time something happened or what they saw or observed during an incident, and help fill out your incident report. And coworkers can also help with transporting clients to provider appointments. Don't forget about the guardian or case manager or family member. Often they may be able to answer questions about your client's history with certain medications or ideas about what may work better in how to approach your client or your resident client or resident's routine or preferences. All right, so that's your people resources. Then there's your pages resources. Pages, little page icon. Here's the people icon. Here's the pages icon. I use this book. This is just a screenshot of my nursing drug book. The publisher is by Mosby's. You can buy this online, Amazon for $45. This is back in 2020. There's a new reference guide printed out every couple of years. There's different publishers. Another publisher is Lippincott. Basically the same thing. It's this heavy. It's kind of heavy actually. For a small book, it's really kind of heavy. But I like the Mosby's version. I feel like it's the most straightforward. I consider the Mosby's the Cadillac of paper pages resources for you. So pages resources. Number one should be, let's not forget, the two DHHS grand poobahs of information that we go by on how to do this job. The Maine State Curriculum for the employee, and then the DHS 113 regulations for the workplace. All right, then that nursing drug book, it will include a list of all current medications at the time it was published. It includes both the generic and the brand name. Every med has a generic name and a brand name, just like any other retail product on a retail shelf. You need to know both. You need to know the generic and the brand name of every medicine. So if you are fishing around in your cart looking for Tylenol, and you see a whole bunch of meds, including acetaminophen, but you don't see Tylenol, so you think, no, it's not here. Well, it is there. It's acetaminophen. Acetaminophen is the generic name for Tylenol, the brand name. All right, so the drug book includes generic and brand name. It also includes the classification. It will say functional class right underneath the title of the med that you look up. It also includes what the drug is used for and a list of potential side effects. So if you don't already have one of these in your facility, you really should get one. If you can encourage your employer to purchase one, or if you decide to purchase your own, I encourage you to put your name and contact information in it, and don't leave it around because it will disappear. Someone will take it on you because it's a very valuable resource. There's also the pharmacy leaflet, that thin little folded up paper that comes along with each medication that you pick up from the pharmacy. It also includes some side effects and contraindications. Contraindications is a reason why a med should not be given to a certain person for a reason. If someone's pregnant, that's a contraindication to not give many medications, as an example. And then there's an online resource, drugs.com. You could load this onto your desktop as well as for quick access. This can also give you information about medications To me, the preference is the nursing drug book. It's heavy, but it's just so straightforward. All right, that concludes the people and pages, the resources that you would go to help get information. This also covered the curriculum and the chapter 113 that you need to take time, click on these links and get familiar with those pieces of information. The curriculum is like 180 pages and the regulations is quite a few pages as well. Again, the real focus for the chapter 113 is section, go within level 4, and then section within that, go to section 5, 7, 11, and 12. 5, 7, 11, and 12 sections are what focus on the CRMA role or med administration. Resources. Then we go into infection control. I'm assuming most people here already work in a facility and you are well versed in infection control. The big thing is to cover your cough and sneeze, wash your hands. Wash your hands, wash your hands thoroughly with soap and water, running water, not just scrub, not just the palms of your hands, but the back of your hands, in between fingers, under your fingernails. Nice and thorough job. So just some little snippets on the infection control section. Anything that you see in boxes like this, this is on your quiz. This is on the unit. Each unit 1, 2, 3 has a quiz associated with it. So if I have it in boxes, it's on the quiz. So here, signs and symptoms of infection may include inflamed skin. So skin that's red, hot, or swollen, or a rash. Fever or chills. Pus, such as green or yellow drainage from a wound. Nausea, vomiting. Persistent diarrhea, sore throat, or a cough, or painful urination. These are symptoms, signs and symptoms of infection. Then there's some potentially infectious body fluids. So this would be a list of body fluids that could become potentially infectious to you. And then if someone else comes into contact with you and these body fluids, then they may then become an infection transmitted to them. So an easy way to remember these is anything you wouldn't want to touch, especially touching it without washing your hands or afterwards or wearing gloves. That kind of makes it easy to remember, right? Blood, semen, vomit, saliva, feces, or urine. Those are infectious body fluids that can potentially become infectious to you if you come into contact. Remember to cover your cough and sneeze. Wash your hands thoroughly, at least 20 seconds. There's 4 links to the infection chain that must be present before you can spread infection. So a germ, there has to be a germ or a virus or bacteria in the first place. It has to be on some sort of a surface. And then it has to have some way to spread to someone else to then make someone else sick. So if someone coughs into their hand and then you shake hands with them, now you've got their germ on your hands. And then if you go to lick your finger to turn a page, now you've just probably infected yourself. Now you've just caught their cold or their flu. Don't lick your finger to turn pages. When I see people licking their fingers at work to turn pages, I just want to whack them over the head with a club. Don't do that. You know what you can do? Breathe. So in the wintertime is when colds and flus get spread easily, but your hands are really dry, which makes you more likely to lick your finger to turn a page. If you just breathe some steam, a little bit of steam on your fingers, that's enough to turn the page. It makes them damp enough to turn the page. And then you're not touching your mouth and getting germs in your mouth. If you just don't touch your face without washing your hands, you'll cut down on getting sick quite a bit. So different germs require different routes. Routes being like how it enters the body. Direct contact, like when you shake hands or maybe hug somebody. Indirect contact, like if you're sharing a cell phone. Cell phone, filthy cell phones. Germs on the cell phone. I've gotten in the habit of wiping my phone down every day if I've been outside, if I've been out somewhere, I wipe my phone down. And my glasses are filthy all the time too, because I touch them. Pick them up, on, off. Glasses are on, off all day long, and I touch them. So my glasses and my cell phone need to be, totally disinfected at the end of every day, because that could be something to spread germs. If somebody else touched my phone or my glasses, they'd get whatever germs I have. So water bottles, don't share water bottles. Let's see. So indirect contact. So cell phone, Heather's glasses, water bottles, common surfaces. So like the door handles, countertops in the kitchen, door handle on the refrigerator in the kitchen, bathroom faucet handles, bathroom doorknobs, all of those surfaces that everyone touches, germs are all over it and just waiting for you to come along, touch it, and then lick your finger to turn a page. Don't do that. Don't touch your face. Droplets, such as when coughing or sneezing. When you cough or sneeze into the air, your germs the air can actually spread like 9 feet. Particles in the air. All right. So cover your cough or sneeze just into your elbow, or even like pulling your shirt up and coughing or sneezing into your shirt. That will prevent the spread of germs. So removing any one of these links breaks the chain of infection. So big way, number 1, washing your hands. Good housekeeping, disinfecting, wiping down common surfaces, using gloves, masks, and gown. And remove your gloves too. So sometimes I've gone to facilities doing inspections and somebody's wearing the same gloves all day or for on and on without, that doesn't do anything. You need to remove the gloves and wash your hands afterwards. So if you're removing a pair of gloves, you should wash your hands again after. So the gloves necessarily aren't protecting you from actual germs. They're protecting you from stuff, like dirt or what am I trying to say? I don't know what I'm trying to say. Debris, I guess. But they're not really going to protect you from germs. You need to wash your hands after you remove gloves, or at least use hand sanitizer. The mask. Do not touch the inside of your mask. I also see people take their mask off, or like keep touching the mask. The mask doesn't fit, so they keep touching it, but they're bringing all the germs on their hands. They're bringing the germs right up to their face, and they're just making themselves more potential to get sick or spread germs because you're touching around your face. Don't touch your face. The mask needs to fit well, so you're not touching it, and don't touch the inside of your mask. Otherwise, you're giving yourself germs. All right, protective gowns or goggles. That's if goggles are used if there's a potential for like splashing, like if you were maybe emptying a catheter bag into a graduated cylinder, that might be a potential for splash. Or gowns, if somebody has MRSA, you want to wear a gown so that any germs can't get onto your clothing and then in turn spread. Speaking of gown too, if you are gathering laundry, soiled laundry, don't gather the laundry or the sheets and then hold it up against your body. You want to wear gloves and hold the sheets or the linen away from your body so that those germs don't get on you and then you spread them elsewhere. Immunizations can help. Storing food carefully, not leaving food sitting out and getting warm. Washing fruits and vegetables before preparing them. Be careful with cleaning cutting boards. Use hot soapy water for washing dishes. No sharing personal items. Razors, toothbrushes, any items like bathroom items, those should not be shared. Big thing, hand washing. Here's a little video about hand washing. I'm not going to play it now. I'm sure you all have had this at work, but you're absolutely welcome to watch it later if you feel like you need to. All right, vital signs. Vital signs is the next one. What are vital signs? Vital signs are clinical measurements of the status of essential body function that support life, such as the heart that pumps blood and the lungs that breathe air. So the cardiovascular system pumps blood, and the respiratory system includes your lungs that breathe air. Remember, those are the two big heavy hitters on your body system section and in your body systems study guide. Vital signs of the average. So the average reading for an adult for vital signs include the following. Keeping in mind that physical activity can temporarily increase the work of the heart and lungs to support the extra demands for energy and oxygen. But those increased measurements can also be signs of infection or disease in the person at rest. Client observation and reporting is a super important skill associated with med administration. So you need to be able to monitor the effects of the meds you've given. And in some situations, you need to know the resident's physical status before you give the med. The human body is capable of maintaining a balance of physical and general health, and everyone reacts differently to different physical and emotional changes. So, for instance, if you have, let's say you have a heart on your med list here, you have a heart medication to give to a patient or resident, and you also have an inhaler to give to them because they have asthma. You want to give the, you want to check the pulse and blood pressure first to get a normal baseline reading before you give the inhaler, because a side effect of the inhaler, what commonly happens is side effect of inhalers often just raise the heart rate. It makes your heart kind of race. So you wouldn't want to give the inhaler first and then check the blood pressure and pulse, because those are going to be elevated or higher from an effect from that inhaler. And then that's a false reading. So it's a lot to know. This whole course, this job, it's a lot. It's a lot of information that you need to know. Keep in mind many things at the same time. All right. So the techniques for obtaining vital signs, they're not hard, but they are certainly essential. And the equipment required may vary depending on where you work. But the knowledge and skills are the same. So many places use those transdermal thermometer scanners. You want to make sure that you read the little direction manual that comes with it. Make sure that it's calibrated correctly, because an oral thermometer, like an old it's kind of like the old-fashioned thermometer almost, a little probe that you stick under your tongue. The average Fahrenheit reading for that would be 98.6. But then if you use a scanner, a transdermal scanner, that might say 96 or 97. So they're giving kind of the same reading, but maybe a different calibration because it's a different mechanical device. So make sure you understand what the normal calibration should be on the device that you use, because you don't want to get a reading that says, oh, 97 or 98 on one device might actually be a fever, considered a fever on another device. That's my point. All right. So these slides or boxes give you some descriptions about how to measure and read vital signs. So the pulse. Pulse is also called the heart rate or heartbeat. So pulse, heart rate, heartbeat, those terms are all the same. This is how many times the heart muscle, the heart is a muscle, how many times the heart muscle contracts and relaxes per minute to keep the blood circulating throughout the body. And that blood also transports oxygen. It passes by the lungs, picks up oxygen, and carries it around throughout the body. This is part of the cardiovascular system and pairs with the blood pressure. This little graphic shows some different pulse points where you can check the pulse. So the carotid at the neck. So the carotid pulse is actually on both sides of the neck. You can check it on the left or the right. So you can do it right now. Take 2 fingers and press against the front of your neck, and you should feel this little beat. That's your heart pumping and contracting and relaxing, pushing the blood around through your circulatory system. So 1 pulse point, and these are definitely on your Unit 1 quiz, pulse point. So carotid at the neck, and then apical at the heart. I remember apical, A for have a heart. Apical is the heart. Oh, back to the carotid. If you check your carotid pulse, your hand is kind of in like a C shape a little bit. Your hand goes in a kind of in a C shape. So that's how I remembered. C for carotid. Apical at the heart. Have a heart. Apical pulse is at the heart. And notice your heart is positioned actually a little bit to the left on your chest. Then there's the brachial pulse. L like B for elbow. Brachial pulse is at the elbow. That's if you use a blood pressure cuff and press a stethoscope here at this point in order to check someone's blood pressure. But trying to use your fingers to kind of feel, that's not necessarily, the brachial isn't necessarily an easy way to feel the pulse. The easiest way is probably at the neck. All right, then there's the radial pulse at the wrist. You can also press 2 fingers on the underneath side, the underside of your wrist, and press and feel your pulse. Also femoral, like on the inner thigh. Here's some others, but those aren't real efficient. The ones that you're going to be doing mostly is carotid, apical, and radial. The average beats per minute is between 60 and 100 beats per minute for the average adult. Here's a little graphic on how to check someone's blood pressure. So you're checking their blood pressure, whether you use a cuff on the arm or one of those little mini cuffs that go on the wrist. The person should be seated, feet on the floor, no talking, arms supported, and the cuff itself should be at chest level, kind of the same level as the heart. So the blood pressure cuff automatically goes on the arm. It's kind of automatically at the same level at the heart. But if you use the wrist cuff, they should bend the elbow and raise their wrist up so that it's pretty much at the level of the heart. Okay, no talking, no smoking, preferably baseline activity for the previous half hour before you check someone's pulse or blood pressure. Not right after they went out for a run or drank a Red Bull or was smoking, because those things would raise someone's pulse and blood pressure. Here's a little chart here. Gives you some reading. So example of like hypotension, like a low normal, some signs if someone's blood pressure or pulse was low. And some examples. So someone's so the normal blood pressure is 120/80. That's how hard the heart is working to try to push your blood around the circulation. So the heart pushes the blood out through the arteries and sends it out around the body. And then the veins bring that blood back, and it's already done its job and delivered oxygen and nutrients and fluids. And it comes back to the heart, gets pumped again and passes by the lungs and picks up oxygen and takes it around again. What was I saying? Oh, so the blood pressure, average blood pressure is 120/80. 120/80. The 120 is like the beginning of the pressure. That's when the heart is contracting and pushing, and that's measuring in millimeters per I can't remember, millimeters per hemoglobin, I think what it is, how much pressure it takes for the heart to push that blood through. That's called the systolic blood pressure. the contraction of the heart. Then that 80 and the 120 over 80 to 80 is the relax pressure. That's the heart at rest. So here, if the blood pressure is low, it's considered hypotension. Hypo for low, hypotension. Signs and symptoms would be nausea, dizzy, fainting, tiredness, weakness, maybe blurry vision or confusion. So if you give somebody a heart medication, you want to check their blood pressure and or pulse first to make sure that their pulse is not low to begin with, because you wouldn't want to give a med that's going to make it even lower. And then you would perhaps see these symptoms. That's why you really want to watch your residents after you give heart meds, seizure meds, anything that's real serious. Here's a picture demonstration of how to place the blood pressure cuff in the stethoscope. This is the stethoscope, the device that you use to listen to the pulse here at the brachial pulse. Here's a little picture showing how to check the radial pulse. And here's a graphic on normal or ranges for blood pressure. So see 90 over 40, that would be, or 90 over 60, that would be low. That would be low. You definitely want to be reporting that to the supervisor and the provider. The 120 over 80 here is the normal. And then high blood pressure starts to be at the 140 over 90. That's when the heart has to work harder. That person might have antiarrhythmics or antihypertensive meds from your classification list. Then if you get up to 160 over 100, and 180 over 100, that's dangerous. Again, these are ranges where you'd want to be reporting this to your supervisor and the provider. Okay, temperature, another vital sign, internal human body temperature. Several locations where you can check a person's temp. This is definitely on your Unit 1 quiz. Oral, in the mouth, like a little probe that you stick under the tongue. That same little probe can actually go under someone's armpit. Then there's otic thermometers that you press into the ear. And then there's the transdermal over the skin. That's what we use most of the time now, a little scanner on your forehead to check your temp. And then rectal temperature. You probably won't be doing a rectal temperature. This is used kind of in a more of an acute, maybe hospital setting, maybe like for a baby, who can't say, what are you doing? The rectal temperature is actually quite accurate and often used if, for whatever reason, something cannot be put in someone's mouth, like an oral thermometer. Then the other vital sign is respirations. That's a fancy name for how many breaths per minute. The average adult breath is 12 to 20, anywhere between 12 to 20. If someone's sleeping, right, their average breath is going to be on the lower side. Same if someone's sleeping, their pulse and blood pressure and even temperature might even sort of be on the lower side a little bit. Well, maybe not so much the temperature, but definitely the pulse and the blood pressure are going to be a little bit lower when someone's at rest or sleeping. Same with the respirations. Average respiration, 12 to 20 breaths per minute. Picture the lungs. So the heart actually is positioned about here, and that blood kind of like passes over through these lungs like this and picks up oxygen and carries it out around through the body. This will be a question on your quiz as well. 12 to 20 breaths per minute. How do you check someone's breaths per minute? So usually if people are aware that you are checking how many breaths per minute it makes them breathe differently. So the way to do it, this is another question on your quiz, somewhere on your quiz. The way to check someone's respiration is do one of the other vital signs first, and then just pretend that you are continuing on with checking that vital sign. But what you're actually doing is you're watching your resident's chest rise and fall. Something back here. What did I want? There was something else I wanted to say. Oh, if your med has an order to check the pulse before you give the med, it should be done for a full minute. So if you have to check the pulse before you give a heart med, it should be checked for a full minute. No skimping and checking for 30 seconds and then just multiply that by 2. Really should be a full minute for complete accuracy. This is just a little picture about body temperature. Just see how at the core, you know, your body is going to be warmer, where out at the extremities, it's going to be cooler. And we talked about the 3 main pulse points for the CRMA. The apical pulse at the heart, have a heart brachial pulse with the cuff if you're using a blood pressure cuff at the elbow, and then the radial pulse at the wrist using 2 fingers. And I should include here the carotid pulse at the neck. Carotid pulse at the neck. Here, this gives you a little more clarification on the top number and the bottom number. The systolic is the top number, measures the pressure in your arteries and your heart muscle is contracting or beating. The bottom number in the 80 of the 120/80, that's a diastolic pressure, measuring the pressure in your arteries when your heart is at rest in between beats, heartbeats. Here's another video on checking blood pressure. It just helps you read the dial if you're using a blood pressure cuff. I won't play it now. I'll let you watch it if you want. Guys love this one. It really is kind of fun. It's kind of like a little game. The narrator talks you through how to watch the dial on a sphygmomanometer. Tells you how to watch the dial on this device and how to read it and how to read it. So this dial here, so this is like this is a panel, but there's also, it's the same thing as that round dial that's connected to a blood pressure cuff. And then this device is the stethoscope. This will be on your quiz. Stethoscope is used to listen to the sounds heard of the heartbeat. You can use for the heart. You can also listen to someone's lungs and someone's stomach too, and intestines with this stethoscope. Some stethoscopes work better than others. So if you try one and you don't hear anything, it may be, maybe it doesn't work well. You want to make sure that these earpieces are tilted. So when you put this in your earpieces in your ear, make sure the little earbuds are actually kind of tilted forward. That's going to help you hear with the stethoscope. And then if you put the stethoscope over your heart and you can't hear anything, sometimes some of these are designed, this turns. So hold the rubber tubing with one hand and then twist the bell in the other hand, and that might adjust the stethoscope to the proper position to pick up audio sounds. Let's see, I think we did this one. We covered this, the different places to check a person's temperature. This will be on your quiz. Orally in the mouth, axillary in the armpit, otic in the ear, transdermal over the skin, rectal. Again, you won't really be doing rectal temperatures or much rectally, much of anything in this course, but occasionally, like with suppositories, so you need to be aware. I told you how to watch someone's breath and fall. And we covered that. So I'm going to finish up here. The last thing I'm going to talk about is this 8 rights of medication administration. So this is the name of the game here. These 8 rights. We have to memorize it. Every single time you give a medicine, you need to keep these 8 rights in mind. You'll notice this 8 rights are also on your skills checklist on the, I think the second page of your skills checklist. So the 8 rights is in the state of Maine. Other states have the same course. It has like a different title. Some other states will call this MedTech or MAP. I also train for Florida, and that's also, they're considered a MAP, Medication Administration Professional. In Florida, I think they have maybe 10 rights. Other states have 13 rights. There's probably 50 shades of rights actually in giving meds. If you really think about it, if you include, you know, you know what the right allergies are of the resident, that you know what their preferences are, you know what their routines are. If you thought about it, you could think of more rights. But for here, this course, we're going to really zoom in on the 8 rights. So to keep your work organized and to be sure you're completing all the steps in accurate and safe medication administration, we follow these 8 rights with every single med you give to every resident. Think of this as your recipe for baked in excellent med administration for your residents. So the number 1, the right resident. You want to make sure you're giving the right med to the right resident. It doesn't matter if you have the med right, the dose, the time, all the rest of the things don't matter if you're giving it to the wrong person and you're making a med error. All right, so number 1, you've got the right resident and you want to know why are they receiving services from you. You want to know what the diagnosis is for each med. The resident's receiving services in your facility for a reason based on their diagnosis. Look at their care plan, their demographic sheet, and their medication administration record, the MAR, to find out what the diagnosis is for each med. The diagnosis is what the prescriber uses as a basis to order the medications. Then you want to go in your workbook and get this classification list. Meds are classified by their reason for action, use, or purpose, or desired effect in the body based on the diagnosis. Understanding what classification med is in helps you know what side effects to look for. Watching out for side effects, the observing, documenting, reporting your findings on what you notice about the med effects. That's the name of the game of this job. This is what makes you so valuable, because it doesn't matter. The prescriber can order all the meds they want, but if they don't know how they're working, it's a waste of time and it's not good for the resident. So watching out for the side effects is huge. All right. And then understanding how the body systems tie in. What body systems are affected by the medications you or your residents taking? Understanding this also helps you know how the med's working. So we're only like dipping our little pinky toe into the water of this, and look how much information we already have. All right. So number 1, make sure you have the right resident. And also keeping in mind their allergies. What's their usual mood and emotional state? What environmental factors may be affecting your resident? So some people might just always refuse their meds in the morning first thing, but if they just had their cup of coffee first, then they'll be your best friend and they'll take the meds no problem. So understanding people's moods and their environmental factors can help be more supportive and therapeutic in giving their medications. All right, number 1, you know, the right resident. Number 2, make sure you have the right medication. Be sure you understand the purpose of each med. Your friend, the Cadillac of pages information here, the nursing drug book. It's your responsibility to understand the reason and response for each med you give. If you don't know why a med's ordered and the potential side effects, your job is to, number 1, look it up. So if you get a new med order and you don't know what the med is, you don't recognize the name, you need to look it up first. If you don't get your answers, then you call the prescriber or the pharmacist or ask your supervisor. All right, number 2, part of knowing the right medication, knowing what the stuff is, for 1, and number 2, knowing when the order legally expires. So meds orders legally expire depending on their potential for abuse or addiction. Keeping track of when orders will legally expire helps your workplace remain in compliance. So it's kind of this scale of severity or danger for potential of abuse or addiction. There's a scale, and that chart is further on in the course here, but just in a nutshell. So the serious meds, controlled narcotic meds, they have like a high potential for abuse or addiction. They're double locked. They're counted every shift. You know, they're really protected and regulated. Those orders expire in only 1 month. And it makes sense that the order only legally expires in 1 month, because it's serious meds. They need to be controlled. They're narcotics. They have a high potential for abuse or addiction. those meds expire, the order expires in 1 month. Then there's psychotropic meds. They're like medium potential for abuse or addiction. Those meds often, the orders often expire in 3 months. So some of you, you're in a group home setting. And if you notice, your resident may go see the psychiatrist pretty much every 3 months for their psychiatrist appointment. This is why, because the orders legally expire every 3 months. Or if you are in a more long-term assisted living facility like Susan and Brianne, your orders include a special sort of extra piece that says that those orders can be good for up to 12 months. That's because the psychotropic meds for mood or behavior are given in a long-term consistent setting. And then everything else, like non-controlled over-the-counter meds, there's a low potential for abuse. So those orders legally expire in 12 months. So it's 1, 3, 12 is kind of the standard. Controlled, serious meds, narcotics, orders expire in 1 month. Psychotropics for mood behavior expire in 3 months, and then 12 months for everything else. And then again, in that assisted living setting, those orders can actually be written so that they can be good for 12 months. And if you circle back to your section 7 in that chapter 113, rules and regulations, there's a piece in there, and this is on your quiz, section 7.1717 says that these psychotropic meds, the order expires every 3 months unless it's specifically written by the prescriber that the order is good for 12 months. There is no med that is legally valid for any more than 12 months. So kind of makes sense. We're supposed to go see our primary care doctor for a checkup every year. This is part of it because any orders would be expired in 12 months. All right. And then also you want to be watching out for side effects. Observe, document, and report the med effects. What is the med used for and what body system is it affected? So those effects could be good, bad, or no effect at all. So good effect means that the med's working, the blood pressure is down, the fever is gone, diabetes, blood sugar is under control. Bad effects could be the side effects, nausea, vomiting, headache, diarrhea, don't feel good afterwards, bad effect or negative effect, or no effect at all. The med, there doesn't seem to be any change from the effect. All three of these outcomes are all equally important to document, observe, document, and report these effects to the prescriber so that then the licensed prescriber can then make the final judgment on what med changes to make. So if the med is good effect, then the prescriber may want to continue the med the way it is, the way it's ordered, the same dose, the same med, the same dose, the same time, everything. If it's a bad effect, then the prescriber may want to discontinue that med altogether, maybe try a different med, or maybe lower the dose. Maybe the dose is too strong. Or if there's no effect at all, then the prescriber may decide to maybe try a different med, maybe change the timing of the med, or maybe even increase the dose. So that's number 2. We want to know the right med. So we get the right resident, the right med. Number 3, the right dose. You need to know the correct amount of med to give. So there's a difference between strength and dose. The strength, think of S for single. Strength is the single amount of med per unit. The dose is the total amount of med within a time range. So an example, Tylenol is ordered 325 milligrams, 2 tabs twice a day. So the strength of the single tablet is 325 milligrams per unit or per tablet. The dose is 650 milligrams because it's 2 tablets. Each tablet is 325. So 325 times 2 is 650. If you're talking about the daily dose, so if 650 milligrams is given twice a day, and the dose for the whole day is 1,300 milligrams. All right, then there's solid weight and liquid volume. So in medication administration, we use the metric system. Metric system. And they both use the same sort of scale. Like there's 1,000 milligrams in a gram, and there's 1,000 milliliters in a liter. It's just one is for solid and one's for liquid. So solid tablets are made of medicinal compressed powder, the most common type of pill used to deliver oral medications. They dissolve in the GI tract. The concentration of medicine is often measured in metric milligrams. So a milligram is 1 unit of weight, and it's as a fraction, it's 1/1000th of a gram. And then a gram is 1 unit of weight, and that is 1/1000th of a kilogram. Don't worry if you have a hard time with measurements, because I have this fun little kit I use where you can practice. This is a picture of my own little kit thing of a little blue water. You can use it. I have a syringe. You can suck the water out of the bottle and squirt it into this little cup, and you can see how it measures out. All right, liquids could be elixirs, syrups, or solutions. They're easy to swallow and absorb quickly. The concentration of medication is often measured in milligrams per milliliter using a calibrated spoon, medicine cup, or syringe. The same ratio. See, it's the same ratio as the gram. Milliliter, 1 unit of liquid volume, equals 1/1000th of a liter. And a liter is 1 unit of, oh, that's wrong. 1 unit of liquid volume is 1/1000th of a kiloliter. I have to fix this right here. Don't look at that. Let's see. And I have other I have this little collage of little videos that explain the metric system. And I'll put that up. You'll see it later on today. So the metric system, if you're not familiar, there's also the meter. So there's the gram, the liter, and the meter. The meter is the same ratio, 1,000. Let's see, a millimeter would be 1,000th of a meter. And then a meter would be 1,000th of a kilometer. All right, number 4, the routes. How meds enter the body by way of their entry point is called the routes. General routes, and here, so now you're getting into abbreviations. Abbreviations in the medical world are based on the Latin language, and they're short terms for medical terms, shortened. And we use abbreviations like PO, by mouth. Most meds are given PO, by mouth. So you're going to also have to remember these abbreviations. So you have to remember the 8 rights. You need to keep in mind those list of classifications, and you need to know all these abbreviations. And I've like minimized everything. So there's really no fluff hardly anywhere in this course or the training. So just keep reviewing it and you'll get it. You'll get it. If you have a hard time remembering the roots, just think of the 5 senses. Sense of sight, hearing, smell, taste, touch. Those are not the roots, but they're just clues and tips to help you remember. So oral meds by mouth could be your like sense of taste. Sublingual, under the tongue. Some meds are given under the tongue. Talk about that a little bit later, clarified. Some nose spray, ophthalmic in the eye, otic in the ear, topical on the skin, like creams or ointments, injection into the inner layer of skin, PR for rectal, vag for vaginal. Then there's the eye-ear roots. So I put up this picture to help you remember. So U means both. So if you trace around the face, it kind of is a U shape. And then for the right side, D is for the right side. So think of D for dominant. Most people are right-handed. So you can think of D for the dominant side, S left for the secondary side, S for left. So then, and then O for eye, eyes are round. So O for eye, and then A for ear. So if you just remember that your eyes are round, so that's the O, the A for your ear. And then if you take a pen and you write a little D on your right hand and an S on your left hand, then bingo, you can remember all of these. And then here's a tiger face. And so now you can look at the tiger face and practice memorizing your eye, ear roots. Then you need to, number 5, know the right time. Meds must be given at the right time, and here are some common abbreviations. Need to know all of these. They're all on the quiz. Number 6, the right reason. You need to know why the meds are given. 3 things here. Diagnosis. Diagnosis is defined as utilization of a scientific knowledge for identifying a disease process and to differentiate it from other disease processes. Means the diagnosis is determining and judgment of various variations from the norm. So the prescriber assesses the patient or resident's condition and makes an informed judgment to determine a diagnosis. So back to that scope of practice term, or the, range of tasks. So your role as a CRMA is a support staff role. So you cannot make the final assessment and judgment to be making a diagnosis and ordering meds. But your observation, documenting, and reporting the effects of meds supports the prescriber to make a good choice on whether to continue meds, whether to change meds, or discontinue meds. So you, the CRMA, are the harmonizing instrument in the orchestra of prescribing and giving medications. You also need to know the purpose. So these are kind of like one and the same. I've just broken it down into just 3 different ways to look at it. So if you take out your classification list, those classifications are itemized based on like diagnosis, the reason, the purpose for the med. Why is the med being given? The purpose of the med. Based on the diagnosis, the prescriber orders meds to make the patient feel better or give a desired effect. The use, kind of the same thing, but we're just looking at it a little different ways. Medications are ordered to give a desired effect. The CRMA has a vital harmonizing role within the healthcare team to observe, document, and report the effects of the medications. That was number 6, the right reason. So the 1 through 6 is what you're going to see on the doctor order. You're going to see those 1 through 6 things on every medication label. And those 1 through 6 items are going to be what gets transcribed from the doctor order onto the MAR page. All right, number 7. Number 7 and 8, we keep these 2 things in mind. Number 7, the resident has the right to refuse. And they also have the right to know what meds they're taking. They have the right to refuse the med. They have a legal right to refuse the med. So the term right kind of shifts into a legal, the legal aspect. So the use of the word right shifts to a legal freedom and protection to refuse any medication. We remember this number 7, right? We remember that our residents have the right to refuse any med. And this is actually clarified in the main state curriculum and in the Chapter 113 Level 4 regulations, specifically Section 5.2. So look it up. All right, and then when resident, what do we do? So if they have the right to refuse, but we have to follow the order, how does that work? So when residents refuse a med, we circle our initial on the front page of the MAR, and this communicates that additional documentation was entered on the back of the MAR. So if you look in your workbook, you'll see the front page of the MAR, and there's like this grid of boxes over on the right. That's actually a calendar. You put your initial in the box according to the date at the top and the med at the left. where they intersect, and you put your initial, but when you give a med, but if the person refuses, you put your initial there and you circle that. And that's the universal signal that something, that this med wasn't given. And then you look on the back to find out why. And if you have computer documentation, it's the same information, just on a computer. All right. And finally, we also keep in mind the right documentation. So we always follow the 8 rights as a guide to read the med order correctly, documenting medication and correctly. I got to fix that. Correctly reporting. Hold it. We always follow the 8 rights as a guide to reading the med order correctly, documenting med administration correctly, and correctly reporting the effects of meds to the prescriber. So here's a picture of this. You have this in your workbook, the front page, back page of the MAR. The front page of the MAR, paper number 2 there, it has a 2 in the top left corner, 3 in the top left corner. The front page of the MAR is where we document the expected routine administration of meds. We put our initial in the small calendar grid, like over here. Like today's the 8th. I can't even see this, but I find like whatever, 8. And if I was giving this med here, I would follow across and to the 8 and put my initial right here. Let's see, front page of the MAR where we document the expected routine administration of meds. We put our initial in the small calendar grid box on the right, correlates with the order of med in the large box on the left. When a routine med is not given, we circle our initial in the small calendar box. Then the back page of the MAR is where we document the exception. So the front page is the expected routine meds, and the back page is the exception, unusual circumstances with med administration when routine med is not given for any reason, and every time a PRN as needed med is given. The reason on the left, followed by the response on the right. So the way the back page of the MAR, paper MAR, is printed out, it looks like it's one continuous piece of documentation, but it's not. It's really 2. So take a knife and cut this in half. Cut that, rip that right in half. Not really. I'm just trying to make it fun. But the left side is we document the reason. What is the med? Why wasn't it given? The person refused. And you put your initial. And then you observe. You keep observing the resident and you watch for signs and symptoms of effects, good, bad, or no effects at all. You document that and sign as well. Right here, so this right side, that follow-up piece of the documenting the effects of the med, this is the whole essence of med administration, because this is when exceptions are made here for routine meds or anytime an as needed med is given. So the prescriber is certainly really important for them to know these exceptions. They need to know if their person is refusing heart meds so they can haul them back into the office and slap them on the hand and tell them they need to take their meds or stop smoking or exercise more. And then we also capture any PRN med on the back here, because on the front page, there's no place to explain. All you can do is put your initial to the date and the med, but there's nowhere to explain anything more about that. So that's why we clarify in the back. And I gave you some examples here. So that constitutes the introduction and unit 1 for this quiz for today. And there is a practice quiz that I'll email to all of you. And the practice quiz, it's not graded, but it's required. Like, I'm not going to meet with you for our final get-together piece to go over the actual unit quizzes and final exam if you haven't done the practice quiz. So think of the practice quiz as like a study guide. And I've actually jam-packed the questions with lots of information so that if you read it and pay attention, you're going to learn quite a bit just from covering the practice quiz. So today, that concludes for today. We covered the introduction and we covered unit 1. Then Wednesday, I'll be doing this again. at 9:30. Hopefully it will be a little smoother as I sharpen my online skills. And Wednesday, we will start covering Unit 2. I'll also be emailing you today after I hang up here, link to the website and remind you of the password to get into this training page. And I'll be adding some more information on. Any questions, anybody? Anyone that's still here? Anybody? Oh, is that Cheryl? Cheryl has a question, but let me figure out how I can open up the microphone. You can't let's see, hang on. Up here maybe. How can I fix this? Let's see. It's not letting me unmute. I love the ingenuity. 1, 2, and 3. So you have 1, 2, and 3. Are you talking about you have 1, 2, and 3? Wonderful. That's good. So everybody should everybody should have the workbook that will include 1, 2, and 3 in it. Yeah, and that's just a practice pages. I love it, Cheryl. Good. Anyone else have any questions? No, if not. So this session it takes a little bit for it to load up, but then you should automatically get an email to the link of it. And I'm just going to paste it onto the website too. So nobody will have missed anything. So I try to be really casual and fun. And the biggest compliment I can receive as an instructor is that I'm very approachable and very quickly responsive. So I'm really easygoing and I'll do anything I can to help you, but I expect you to review this stuff. I work my tail off to upload all this content and make it as easy, streamlined, and crystal clear for you all. Not just you, but the people you work with, your employer, and most importantly, the residents that you take care of. I no longer work at the bedside. This is my own business. So I'm self-employed. I do this all the time. This is like my way of vicariously caring for patients. So I want you to understand this stuff very thoroughly so that you can take excellent, excellent care of the residents that you care for, and that you are a shining example of what it is to do this job well. And also, I want your facilities where you work to be known for good, strong CRMAs who do the job well and are good examples for our entire community. I have very high expectations. I just come across as very casual. So please, if there's any questions I can answer for you, I don't, nights, not nights. No, never mind. I didn't say nights because I go to bed early. I'm in bed by 7. I can barely stay awake for Wheel of Fortune, but I'm also up at sometimes 3 in the morning. I think I was up at 3 o'clock this morning working on stuff. So I go to bed early, but I'm up early. So don't call me at 9 o'clock at night. But if you want to call me at 6 a.m., I'll probably be up. But certainly text me or email me anytime. And even after this course is over, I'll always still be available. So I hope everyone has a great day. Review everything we covered today. And then on Wednesday at 9:30, I'll send you a link ahead of time, but we will start moving into Unit 2. All right. Thanks for joining me. I'm so excited to work with all of you. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you, Cheryl. Bye.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye, Mike. Hi, Mike. How's Elizabeth today? She feeling good? Good. All right. Wonderful. Have a great day. Thank you so much.